A few months ago, I packed a bag, hopped on a plane, and flew 700 miles to Bend, Oregon, on a one-man mission to convince my sister and her family to move back home to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I really thought this was going to be an easy one. I mean, Coeur d'Alene is amazing. It has one of the top lakes in the country, ski resorts galore, golf courses everywhere, and all the outdoor activities you could want. I figured I'd be home in 3 days with my sister asking me to help them find their new North Idaho home. Boy, was I wrong. I've honestly never been to a place that beats Coeur d'Alene in as many categories as Bend does, which was pretty rude, to be honest. I didn't fly down there to learn things. I flew down there to win an argument. I lost the argument. But this is the part that saved the trip. There is one thing that Bend doesn't have, one thing I don't think Oregon will ever beat Idaho in, and it might be the only reason my sister and her family come home someday. So today, I'm walking you through every category where Coeur d'Alene gets its butt handed to it by Bend, and then I'll share the one thing that gives me hope that maybe one day my sister will finally make the jump back to Coeur d'Alene. In this video, you're going to learn everything you need to know to decide if Bend, Oregon or Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is the right place for you to live, as well as a reminder of something really important. So grab that popcorn, unbutton those pants, and let out that flatulence. It's video time. All right, the three categories I was sure I'd win. The first category, the one I was most sure about, outdoor recreation. I genuinely thought this was unwinnable for Bend. And yeah, I'll admit I did not know much about Bend before making this trip, so sorry if I sound stupid. But look at what North Idaho has. Lake Coeur d'Alene, Fernand, dozens more lakes within 45 minutes of the city, the Spokane River, St. Joe, the Coeur d'Alene River, all inside an hour. Schweitzer, Silver Mountain, Lookout Pass, 49 degrees north, the Selkirks, the Cabinets, mile after mile of trail in every direction. So I landed Bend ready to flex, and then she just starts driving. Mount Bachelor is practically in her backyard. A short, beautiful jaunt with no serious elevation climbs to get there. Smith Rock for climbing, like world-class climbing. The Deschutes River that runs right through the middle of town. The Cascade Lakes chain is up the road. And then she shows me something I genuinely was not ready for. Real hiking trails that start inside the city limits. Not drive 30 minutes and you're at a trailhead. Walk out your front door and you're on a trail. Here's the thing. Coeur d'Alene still wins on overall inventory. We have more outdoor stuff total, but Bend has more outdoor stuff within reach of your morning coffee. And on a random Tuesday, when you've got 90 minutes after work and you want to be in the woods, proximity matters more than having more options an hour away. I don't love admitting that, but it is true. So I'm 0 for 1. The category I was most confident about humbled me, and this was day 1. Day 2, she takes me downtown, and I was actually pretty optimistic walking in. I figured Coeur d'Alene with the resort right on the lake, the boardwalk, the summer culture, I figured downtown was our category. Then I saw Bend's downtown, and I got pretty discouraged, to be honest. Coeur d'Alene's downtown is great. I love our downtown, but it's small and a lot of it is seasonal. Once the lake crowd thins out in October, it gets quiet. Bend's downtown is a real city core, a place people like to go year-round. It's walkable, bikeable, and roundabouts everywhere instead of stoplights. And yes, I know roundabouts are still kind of controversial in Idaho, but for those of us that have opened ourselves to new experiences, we love them. The Old Mill District sits right on the river, restaurants, shops, and a brewery scene that's honestly absurd for a town that size. There's a brewery for every few thousand people, which is either inspiring or deeply concerning depending on your relationship with carbs and alcohol. You can park your car one time, and spend a whole day downtown. In Coeur d'Alene, I park 3 times just running errands.
How come you guys got such great parking places?
It's a secret.
Shut up.
And yeah, Bend has a real tech and remote work scene if that's your thing. It's like the Boulder of Oregon type energy. Coeur d'Alene's tech scene is growing too, but it's quieter, like an introvert at a networking event. Bend wears it on its sleeve. So now I'm 0 for 2, and I'm starting to sweat, to be honest. This is not going well. The third category, and this was one I was positive I was going to win, Coeur d'Alene is in Idaho, Bend is in Oregon. Idaho is safer than Oregon, right? End of story. No. She pulled up the FBI crime data, which I now know was a setup. Bend's violent crime rate is 168.5 per 100,000 residents. Coeur d'Alene's is 241.5 per 100,000. So Coeur d'Alene's violent crime rate is, bear with me, actually higher than Bend's by a real margin. That's not how this was supposed to go. I had to read it 3 times, and then I called my mom to get some emotional support. Son of a bitch. Now, before everyone in the comments loses their minds, both cities are still way safer than the US average. We're arguing over inches here, not miles. North Idaho is a safe region, but on the specific category of violent crime per capita, Bend wins. I'd love to lie to you about this, but I'm not going to. 0 for 3. The slam dunk was a slam miss, and the next category, the one I didn't even think we were competing in, is when the wheels really came off. Honestly, I didn't even think sales tax was on the table. I knew Oregon didn't have one. I just didn't think it mattered that much. It mattered. Oregon does not charge a state sales tax, period. The Oregon Tax Department is just standing there going, you're good, we'll get you later. Idaho charges 6% on basically everything you buy. New truck, 6%. Appliances, 6%. Kitchen remodel materials, 6%. On a $40,000 vehicle, that's $2,400 you just hand over to drive it off the lot. In Oregon, nothing. I bought lunch in Bend, and the total was the total. I didn't even have to take off my socks to add up how much it was actually going to cost. Now keep that 0% in your back pocket. We're coming back to taxes in a minute, and the story does change quite a bit. So that's 4 to nothing. And I started realizing this argument I came down here to win was, in fact, not going to be won. All right, at this point, I need to back up, because to understand why I flew 700 miles to lose an argument with my sister, you need to understand the 20-year version of this story. When I graduated high school, my whole family and extended family scattered. Brothers, sisters, friends, everybody. They all left Idaho. Different states, different lives. The family group chat became a long-distance thing instead of a Sunday dinner thing. And I stayed. Not because I had some master plan, I stayed because at 19, I had a kid and I was in the military. Leaving was not on the table. It was not my choice. I kind of just got stuck here. I was a young dad in uniform trying to figure out how to be an adult. Idaho wasn't a lifestyle decision for me. It was just a decision that was made for me. But somewhere along the way, and I can't even tell you exactly when, that flipped. I started to realize I was the one who got to keep Idaho. Everyone else left and built lives on places that looked good on paper. I was the one who got to wake up and look at the lake. I was the one who got to raise my kid in the place we came from. And that's when this mission started. For 20 years now, quietly, patiently, I've been working on getting them back home, one sibling at a time. Like a long game chess match with my mom watching from the sidelines, hoping every time someone visits that they would decide to stay. It's actually been working, and I've got some of them home. My mom and stepdad are moving here at the end of the month. Huge win for me, but I've still got a couple of sisters holding out, and the one with the 2 kids and the husband I genuinely like, she is in Bend. And every year that goes by, my niece and nephew are 700 miles of distance and 1 more year of growing up without their cousins close by. That's why I flew down there. Not because I wanted to win an argument, because I want my family to be together again. And the channel you're watching right now, big part of why this exists is to help North Idaho grow into a place my family could actually come home to. I know a lot of locals complain about the growth in Coeur d'Alene. I get it, I really do. But for me, that growth is the thing that's been pulling my family home, one sibling at a time. Which brings me to the categories where Coeur d'Alene does still win. And honestly, the one category where I think we win the war, even if we lost a few battles. The first Coeur d'Alene win, housing affordability. Look, I'm not going to insult your intelligence. North Idaho housing is expensive. We've had a hell of a run up, and the market here hasn't been gentle on anybody. So when I say Coeur d'Alene wins on housing, what I really mean is Bend is worse. Bend's median home price is $682,000. Coeur d'Alene's is $601,000. Both numbers are painful, but Bend's is more painful by about $80,000 on the same starter home. And here's the gut punch. The city of Bend publishes its own state of housing report every year. The most recent one says you need a household income of over $200,000 to comfortably buy the average home there. $200,000 in a town of 100,000 people. If you're going to spend painful money on a house either way, at least spend a little less of it. Coeur d'Alene wins this round by surviving a beating, not by being cheap. And the second Coeur d'Alene win? Our lake. The Deschutes River runs right through the middle of Bend, and it's beautiful. I'm not knocking it, but it's a river. Lake Coeur d'Alene is 25 miles of deep, alpine, fish-filled water with a resort city sitting on its shores. It's one of the most photographed lakes in America. If you've ever seen a calendar with mountains and water on it, odds are our lake is in it. I didn't even have to say anything about this on my trip. She knows it's awesome because she asks to go out on my boat every time they visit. Bend has a lot, but it doesn't have that. And this next category, this is where we even the score a little bit. Bend wins on violent crime, but Coeur d'Alene wins on whether your stuff stays your stuff. Honestly, in Coeur d'Alene, there's not a single neighborhood I try to avoid. I don't think twice about locking my truck. I leave stuff in the bed. Nobody touches it. That's just how it is up here. Bend is a different story. There are railroad tracks running through town, and depending on which side of those tracks you are on, that determines whether your windows are still in one piece when you get back to the car. My sister knows the map. She knows where to park and where not to. That's the thing you have to know in Bend. It's not a thing you have to know here. And the numbers back it up. Bend's property crime rate is 1,362 per 100,000. Coeur d'Alene's is 955.5. That's about 40% difference. So if you like your tools to still be in your garage in the morning, your packages on your porch when you get home, and your bike where you left it, Coeur d'Alene's the move. But the bigger quality of life story isn't on a spreadsheet, it's what you see when you're walking around with your kids. Central Oregon's most recent homeless count was 2,108 people. North Idaho's count, covering 5 whole counties, was 246. That is not a gap, that is a chasm, my friend. And it's getting worse, not better. Central Oregon's homeless population is up 89% in the last 5 years. Oregon's governor declared a statewide homelessness state of emergency back in 2023 and just extended it, just extended it again this past January. Whatever Oregon's plan is, it's been 3 years and the numbers are going the wrong way. Which brings me to the actual point of this video, because every Coeur d'Alene win I just listed, and honestly every Bend win too, they're all sitting on top of the same thing underneath, and that thing is the reason I haven't given up on bringing my sister home. Here's what I figured out somewhere around day 2 of the trip. Every single advantage Bend has, the downtown, the recreation, the safety on violent crimes, the no sales tax thing, every one of those things sits on top of a foundation. That foundation is the state government, the philosophy of the state, the direction it's heading. And Oregon and Idaho, they are not heading in the same direction. They're not even close. They're headed in opposite directions and at full speed. Remember that 0% sales tax thing I told you about? Yeah, Oregon makes up for it. Hard. Oregon's income tax goes from 4.75% all the way up to 9.9%. And here's the part that most people miss. That 8.75% bracket kicks in at just $11,050 of taxable income, which is so typical of big government states. Offer a super low income tax that applies to practically no one. So most working professionals in Oregon are paying 8.75% almost immediately. Idaho, they just cut income tax for the 5th time in 5 years. It's now a flat 5.3%. Same rate for everyone, top to bottom. Idaho ranks 9th in the country on the State Tax Competitive Index. Suck on that, Oregon. Even building a house tells the story. Oregon has been operating under a strict statewide land use planning system since the 1970s. Every city has an urban growth boundary that hard limits where you can build, by design. It's limited land on purpose, decided by planners in Salem. Idaho has nothing like that, and it shows up in the actual numbers. If you want to build a new single-family home in Bend, the city's own builders will tell you to plan on 8 to 12 weeks just for plan review. That's before you put a shovel in the ground. In Coeur d'Alene, single-family plan review typically runs 7 to 14 days. Roof work, mechanical permits, same day, over the counter. That's not a small gap. We're talking about 6 to 12 times speed advantage on the same paperwork, and that's just the time it takes to start. And that pattern shows up everywhere you look. Oregon is leaning into the idea that bigger government, more regulation, more programs, more rules, that's the answer. That if we just centralize enough decisions, plan enough things from the top down, we can engineer a better society. Idaho is going the other way. The state is saying we believe families know how to raise their kids, we believe businesses know how to grow themselves, and we believe people know how to live their own lives. And the government's job is to protect those rights, not to manage them. That experiment Oregon is running has been tried before, in a lot of places. It has never worked, not once, not anywhere. Bigger government has never solved the problems it promises to solve. It just creates new ones while making the old ones harder to fix. And Oregon is right at the front of the line trying it again. Meanwhile, Idaho is sitting back at the foundation of the country, holding the line on the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, family, and business. And honestly, I think that's the version of America that lasts. The other one is going to eventually run out of road. So let me just remind you of something. You're not just buying a house when you move somewhere. You're buying a future. You're picking which experiment your kid grows up inside. Bend today is genuinely amazing. The place is gorgeous, the amenities are real, and my sister has built a really beautiful life there. But Bend exists inside Oregon, and Oregon is headed somewhere I don't want my niece and nephew to be when they're 20. I think eventually, and this isn't a hope, this is a math problem, Oregon is going to cross a line my sister and her husband can't live with. The taxes get too heavy, the rights get too restrictive, the streets get too rough, the schools start teaching things she doesn't believe in, and at some point, she's going to look at her husband and say, we have to get out while the getting's good. At least, that's my hope. And when that day comes, Idaho is going to be right here. Same lake, same mountains, same constitution. And of course, if Idaho is screaming your name, reach out to us at the phone number or email address listed below, or scan the QR code and you can pick a time that works best for you to talk with me or my team. And hey, if you like this video, you're going to love this one because I made this one special for you. It's super good. Click that, watch the next one, and I will see you on that one.